Holly has started his own Instagram and YouTube channels as well. Support that, subscribe to it, be sure you pass it around to your friends, because he is doing some good things for furthering arm wrestling. Okay?
And thanks for having me here, Paul. I appreciate it. All right, so here comes a quick intro to the channel. You ready, babe?
We are ready.
What's up, guys? Monster Michael Todd here in Petaluma, California, where it all got started. I'm here with Italia Arm Wrestling Promotions. We're about to do a seminar. Hope you enjoy.
With a lot of you, well, first of all, who here has been in arm wrestling longer than 2 years?
She's doing a lot of the talking so that I can talk more when I'm talking.
Okay, who is really new? Is that you? You? How many of you were aware that Michael has actually been arm wrestling even before the King's move? Okay, 30 plus years. How many of y'all are aware that he's actually Petaluma World Champion? Okay, all right. So when people are throwing back at him, but you're not a world champion, actually he is, in the place that it all started. So Michael, can you start with your history?
All right, guys. So I grew up in Arkansas, just kind of a redneck. Started off, I saw a Karate Kid when I was 10 years old, told my dad I had to take karate. So I became black belt karate and taekwondo and did Thai boxing, and I thought that was going to be my path, but I always loved arm wrestling. Beat my dad when I was 15 years old, beat everybody at school my senior year in high school. I had English driver's ed in Votech, and I went to Votech, and they said, that guy over there is second to state. So we get down to the cafeteria table, I beat him, like, you got to go to this tournament. And that was 1990 Saline County Fair, and now my wife's interrupting me.
He can't talk any louder, so if y'all want to bring your chairs closer.
The story of my life.
Please get right around him. The louder he talks, the more force he has to put on his lungs, okay?
The next part of the story is going to get funny, though.
Shots here, am I?
Man, you sit right on my lap if you want. All right, so so it's Saline County Fair, 1990. I went to that event. Crazy thing was, it took me 38 years to meet Rebecca. We met 10 years ago, and she was actually at that county fair doing
I don't know where this fits into.
I don't care. It's just funny, and it's my story. So she was there. Unfortunately didn't get to meet, but I went home immediately and built a wrist wrestling table because it was wrist wrestling at the time. So you had a hand peg in the middle, horseshoe-shaped cups, and you just pin them to your forearm. Obviously, I had no idea what I was doing, so I built the table 3 inches too tall because it's the right height for me. And I started holding tournaments at the boys' club. Found out about professional arm wrestling August 1st, 1992. I went to Bossier City, Louisiana, BJ's Country. First match, guy top roped me, had no idea what the hell that was. I was like, what? He must have cheated. And maybe King's move, I'm not sure. But, so the second match, the guy went to a hook with me. Battle back and forth, foul. Back on the hook again, battle back and forth, and I pinned the dude. He's the reigning national champion, 198 pounds. So my first ever arm wrestling tournament, I put the reigning national champ out of the tournament. He went 2-0 because Robert Redden, the guy who ultimately ended up training me, had been training for 3 years to beat that dude. He put him on the B side of the bracket. The guy went to hook with me. He could have easily top roped me, but he went to hook, put the reigning national champ out. 4 weeks later, I was at the national championships in McLean, Virginia, 176 pounds, same frame. And I took 7th at the nationals. So that's how I got hooked. Funny thing was, I had watched Over the Top as a kid numerous times. Once I got into wrist wrestling, arm wrestling, whatever, I watched that movie again and thought the whole thing was fake because I was just this inside shoulder presser. They was doing all this other shit. I'm like, that's not real arm wrestling. Come to find out it was. So that's where it all started years ago, 1992. It took me till 2000 to win my first national championship, and that was in Denver, Colorado. Won 198 right, left, and 220 left. I went on for the next 10 years to win at least one national title every year for 10 years. And I catch a lot of shit, especially from Devin Larrett, that my left sucks. And it's not that great anymore. But in 2005, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I went undefeated 242s at the national championships left-handed, never lost a single pin. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, because in 05, and that's when I won Petaluma.
That's when nationals were really big.
Dude, I mean, I beat Ron Bath in 05. I beat Ron Bath in, what was it? South Carolina, maybe? And then Unified Nationals 05. I won at my event, and Matt Gardner, Smack Tim, Lindley Keating, all those folks. And then the WWC that year, World Wrist Wrestling Championships. It was the second year that Petaluma had been moved to Reno. It was a tournament champion, still WWC though. And Ron Bath took third, Tom Nelson took second, I won. So in 2005, I won both nationals and the World Wrist Wrestling Championships. Just with the left. The right took like,
What happened?
I don't know. I blew apart in the championship match in London. It landed that way on the table. But yeah.
Have you all seen that match?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it's arm wars.
So the funny thing is, people are like, "Oh, Wagner broke your arm." Well, the doctor misdiagnosed me. He said I had a muscle tear and it's actually a partially torn ligament. And I said the night before the deal, I was like, "If this thing goes, we're gonna find out tomorrow." As soon as they say go, I'm gonna as hard as I can. Yeah, pow. Yeah. So it just came off the bone and everything. It was pretty horrible. But yeah, so I've been doing this thing a long time. I was a guy that used to wait to get a flyer in the mail, which y'all, I don't know what that's about. You still get flyers in the mail?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, wow, who sent you a flyer? That's crazy.
And why am I not on their list?
Yeah. Why am I being mistreated? But yeah, so I was a road warrior for years. And it was me, I'd find a sponsor, I'd finally get a sponsor, and so, because you remember back in the day, you just jump in the car and you drive to the tournament, right? You load up 4 or 5 guys. And
At the end of this,
I'm giving my history, and then we're going to go into training, and, you know.
hang on one second. At the end of this, Michael will talk to you also about how to get sponsors, okay?
Oh, I'm a beast to get sponsors, I'm just going to
Go
tell you.
ahead.
All right, so in 2000, mid-2000, I got a sponsor, and it went for a year. So I went to a tournament as much as possible. I did 26 tournaments in 2000, but in 2001, I did 35 events. But that 12-month time frame there, I probably hit 40. Because what it works, let's say it's me, you, say 5 of us roll up in the car and we take off this event. Well, I keep all the receipts for the gas, but we split it 5 ways. I keep all the receipts for hotels, but we split it 5 ways. So I'd go to a tournament.
Looks pretty, but the cameras are this way.
I know, but I was talking to Luke. And I'd end up making $500-600 off an event. Well, that was my job basically. I was doing arm wrestling. And so if the tournament paid anything, I got that money plus the arm wrestling money. So I just traveled my ass off and loved it. And the RV thing, I wanted to do that for years, except I wanted to do it where I hit a tournament every weekend. This turns out with YouTube and social media, now you got to travel and film a bunch of content. But arm wrestling has blessed me, and that's why I enjoy doing stuff like this, because it's a chance to give back. I was a guy who got into arm wrestling who wanted to have a strong arm. I wanted to be the stronger guy. I wasn't the guy that had, I don't know any tricks to this day, still know no strap tricks or cheats or nothing. I need to learn them all because I get that.
We saw. Go ahead.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. Like, how did you win that match? The guy had everything. I don't know. I need to learn how to do that, but I always had a really strong arm, and I never trained my hand and wrist. If I could tell anybody one thing, focus on your hand and wrist. I do believe arm wrestling is a pulling sport, meaning your back is the largest muscle you're going to use, but if your hand and wrist aren't strong enough to contain that strength, it won't matter. My mistake was spending 20 years just trying to get my arm strong. One of the biggest compliments and or not really compliments was John Brzezinski was saying when I was pulling Ron Bath at the NAL in 2006, Michael Todd has one of the strongest biceps in the world. I just didn't have the hand and wrist to go with it. But they did say if my hand and wrist ever caught my arm, they'd all be in trouble. Well, then my hand and wrist got strong, and then my arm wasn't as strong anymore. So it kind of went back and forth. But the thing is, focus on your hand and wrist as much as possible. Even if you're hooking, you still need. I mean, I want to get into that in a minute. I'll get into that in a minute.
Let's talk about when did you tell them about the moment you realized that you more or less had arrived.
Okay, this is just backstory, guys. So, and you probably experienced similar things. The time that so I've had a lot of, I've been the world champion of every major league, UAL, NAL, PAL, Arm Wars, WAL, whatever. So I've had cool experiences and been blessed with a lot of achievements in the sport. But probably the coolest thing was when John Brzezinski or Ron Bath would call you and ask you for advice. Like, hey man, should I do this? Or what do you think about this? That's when you kind of knew that, okay, I'm there, because those are the guys you looked up to and chased for years. I remember in 1993, Nags Head Beach, North Carolina, I took 3rd place at the national championships, 210 pounds. John Brzezinski, Ron Bath, me, and then that super strong dude from Canada who looks like a lot like Van Damme, but you don't remember him his way back. He started doing some videos with Devin recently. But yeah, I mean, I was 3rd behind John Brzezinski and Ron Bath at 20 years old. That was a cool event, man. And we drove our ass off to that tournament. It's called the Great American Shootout. I got the plaque at home. Supposed to pay $10,000 to first place in every weight class. The promoter didn't come through. They gave each guy $1,000. So I've been around. I've seen it all. I've seen the promise of riches, and most of the time it doesn't happen. But it's still been a great sport. Had a lot of great friends and a lot of awesome experiences. Rebecca, so when we met, she's like, "That's a thing, like past grade school." I'm like, "Yeah,
I was.
Pretty awesome."
I did.
But she claims that when we met, I'm like, I'm kind of a big deal. I don't think I said that.
He did.
I do have a shirt that says that,
He
but I
did.
didn't say that.
He said it. You know he said it, right, Luke? I mean, he would definitely say it.
Possibly. But so it's so funny with our life and all the things we get to do. She looks back and goes, I can't believe we get to do this just because of arm wrestling.
It's insane.
Like,
It's absolutely insane. That arm wrestling is one of those things that can bring communities together, even when they don't speak the same language. It's just amazing. And to be able to travel and participate overseas, you really see it and you really get it. That's when I got it, at least. But so when I was talking about when you realized you arrived, what do you think was the match that set you on that path?
Rosa?
There you go.
Yeah, so apparently we're talking about two different things.
No, I like it.
In 2005, I was at the Riverboat Rumble. I was in the 242 class. I used to weight lift and train to be small because I felt like the only way I could have abs was if I was 198 pounds. And then in 2004, I got to 210 and was still lean. I'm like, well, I'm not going to lose muscle just to go down a lighter weight class. And that's when the evolution of me getting bigger started. So I'd be ripped at 210, fat at 230. Ripped at 215, fat at 240. You know, just it kept going. And I pulled Marshall Barboza to Riverboat Rumble, and I spun him out in the top row, and I was like, dude, I can beat that guy. And I trained my ass off for about 5 months, and I got the match up there at the Black Bear Saloon. Pete Milano was the promoter, and I remember Christian Benny in the video. They're panning over to Marcel like, he's 255 pounds. Isn't he beautiful? Because he was just the biggest Marcel anyone ever seen. It was $1,000 that we both put up. So this is before promoters gave you cash. Like this is when super masters you bet your own money against each other. And $1,000 both of us put up, and I beat him round 1, beat him round 2, and then round 3 he fouls out. And I was like, dude, I don't want to win like that. Get back up here, because he was upset about it. And I'm like, oh, let's go again. Comes back up here and he pins me. I'm like, oh shit, bad idea. Bad idea. Don't do that. But then I ended up pinning 3-1. But when I won that match, when I beat the biggest Marcel Barboza